What's good, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. What's good with y'all? Check out my other videos. Stay on this one. Obviously, stay here. Stay on this one. Don't be rude. All right. Also, check out my other videos, though. You know what I'm saying? So, today's topic, and I say today because as much as I want to, as much as I want to do multiple videos, I don't have the time to. However, I'm making time for this one at the very least. For y'all, for my sanity, for everyone, for the world. But as I was saying, today's topic is going to be what is a weapon of war and should we be able to have one? Well, a weapon of war, there are two definitions in my opinion. A weapon of war is a weapon that was used in war. One. Two, a weapon that would be effective in a warlike scenario. So let's go into those real quick because a lot of people like to argue, oh, well, civilians shouldn't have weapons made for war. And it's usually a bunch of anti fucking gunners who are talking about banning rifles like the AR 15, the AK 47, things along those lines. However, they look at, for example, the M1 Garand or Garand, whatever the fuck you want to call it. They look at that and call that a hunting rifle. That was used in actual wars. Now, ready for this? I'm sure y'all in the gun community obviously know this. All right, the 1911 used in wars, and like the whole joke about 1911s are two world wars. Why? Because we used them in two world wars. Like, come on now. But they're not talking about those. That's the thing. They're not talking about, you know, weapons that are actually used in war. They're talking about weapons that can be effective in a warlike scenario. Now, let me just point this out right now. We deserve to have every type of gun we want. Machine guns, SBRs, I don't give a damn. Everything. All right? Fucking sawed offs, I don't care. We should be able to have suppressors. The NFA, every gun law, including especially the NFA, is an infringement. The ATF needs to be disbanded. But as I was saying, people like to make the argument all the time, oh yeah, civilians shouldn't have a weapon of war. Well, why not? We've seen, for example, in the Ukraine situation where we're sending out all of our weapons to them. We're sending out a bunch of money to them. Why? So that way citizens can have weapons that are going to be effective in war, aka y'all's definition of a weapon of war. So you see what I mean? It doesn't make sense here. Y'all are supporting that, no problem, but we can't have our guns. That's crazy. That is fucking wild to me. Y'all are gonna support fucking Taiwan arming up to take down China when China tries to invade them. You're gonna applaud them and you're gonna be like, wow, look at those brave people. But we can't have them. I don't know. The logic isn't adding up to me at fucking all. All right. And here's another thing. I do want to point this out. I don't know if y'all know this, but there's been a good few cases where you can find, oh yeah, well, someone will get in trouble. They will either be given one of two choices by the judge to either be charged as a felon. And this actually, I haven't seen this in a long, long time. Why? Because it didn't work when it was in effect. Uh, and this actually got offered to a couple of friends I knew when they got into some trouble, but they turned it down because they're like, hey, I'd rather not go to war. They said they can either do their jail time or they can just enlist in the army. They can enlist in the army, their charges will get dropped, or at least their charges are not going to affect their future. It was one of the two. I could be mistaken on that part. However, they showed me the paperwork and everything, and they circled no. They didn't want to. They didn't want to deal with that shit. And I can't blame them. I don't want to be in the army myself. If World War III pops off, and I have to go, then yeah, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna fight for my country. You know what I mean? Oh, did not mean to kick the table there, but my entire point is that somebody who could have committed a decently bad crime that was going to be a felon could go into the military instead and be able to have legitimate assault rifles. Because in case you guys don't know, the term assault weapon doesn't mean shit. All right, it's a made up term. An assault rifle is how the military categorizes their rifles. All right, which means the categories, right, that fall under this, to make it an assault rifle, Has to be an intermediate level cartridge. Has to have select fire, meaning you have the third spot. You got the third notch on there. You know what I mean? You can go from semi-auto to full auto. You see what I'm saying? Those are just a couple of things that categorize them as assault rifles. So when people say, "Oh, an assault weapon," and they're talking about like an AR-15 or an AK-47, that's just absolutely fucking ludicrous to me. You know what I mean? And that's what they're talking about when they say we shouldn't have weapons of war. Yet those don't classify as weapons of war technically. They would be effective in a war for sure. Why do you think the government at one point in time during the Ukraine-Russian thing uh, was trying to have people of California send their guns over there, which is the dumbest thing ever, by the way. I want to point this out. The state of California has the most neutered guns I've ever seen. So I don't know why, of all states, they would go to them. Probably because they knew Floridians and Texans won't give up their guns, especially for fucking Ukrainians who don't give a single shit about us. Stop it, girl. You're being a pain. I get it. I'm getting hyped. You're hyped. I get it. I get it. She's not a big fan of this weapon of war bullshit either, as you can tell. All right, so back to what I was saying. Yes, all right. If we're gonna say that, for example, a 1911, that's a weapon of war. Yes, it is a weapon of war. In the sense that it was used in war. An AR-15, yes, it's a weapon of war in the sense that it would be effective in a war scenario. You guys see where I'm going? They're going to categorize any firearm as a weapon of war because guess what, guys? Throughout evolution, we went from fighting with sticks and rocks to swords, axes, shields, spears, arrows. What went from an arrow? Oh, they're like, hey, you know what? This is nice, but not strong enough. Eventually, guns were built. That's called evolution, guys. That's called adaptation. That's called progress, creation, whatever you want, innovation, whatever you want to call it. No matter what, though, any gun in particular, not any. Okay, let me rephrase this. And I don't give a fuck what y'all say. All right, I do not care that the military uses a variant of this currently. I still don't think this is a good firearm for any form of defense, even in the military, a P320. Y'all are going to make this argument with me because I've gotten arguments with people all the time over this. I don't give a shit. Fuck that gun. But another one, for example, you wouldn't want, you wouldn't want a little Derringer. You wouldn't want things like that. You know what I mean? You wouldn't want a High Point. I get that. You wouldn't want a 22 LR chambered gun. However, you guys get what I mean, though. Something like, this could be okay, when it comes to effectiveness, 13 rounds of 40. You know what I mean? Things like that. You're not going to go generally for your pistol in a war like situation. Let me point that out, guys. All right. Most of this video, I am talking about rifles. I'm not talking about pistols. However, the first one that actually meets the category of a weapon of war, meaning it's been in a war, as that comes to my mind was the 1911, the M1 Garand. So I'm gonna just jump on the 1911 first because it's right there. You know what I'm saying? So, as I was saying, the AK-47, obviously, but my entire point simply is just we should be able to have these fucking weapons simply because. All right, so y'all know how our founding fathers, right? They wrote the Constitution, with all these amendments on them. The second one, was the right to keep and bear arms. That's what it says. Keep and bear arms, not certain guns or certain arms, not only these arms. People like to make the argument, oh, yeah, well, these are weapons of war. Way back then, the founding fathers only had muskets. Well, guess what? Muskets were weapons of war back then, guys. You see what I mean? They fought to have their weapons of war, quote unquote, which were just guns. Most guns can be effective. That's generally what they were made for. I don't know if y'all knew this. Like, I feel like I'm talking to like some fucking 2-year-olds at this point, trying to explain this. I know y'all aren't dumb, especially my fan base. Y'all are not dumb. Quit playing. All right. However, the whole concept of, oh yes, let's take just really any fucking, intermediate cartridge rifle that's been civilianized, the AR-15, your, neutered AKM or AK-47. You guys get where I'm going with this. Those are effective. They can be effective in a war. So yes, by that logic, they are a weapon of war. However, a neutered AKM or AK-47 or, an AR-15, which is a civilianized version of an assault rifle. So therefore, it can't classify it as anything like that. They're not really weapons of war in the sense that they've been used in war. They're weapons of war in the sense that they can be effective 100%. Now, I do want people to understand this. They think, oh, well, how can they be effective? You don't even get full auto with them. Well, first off, I do want to point this out. I don't know if y'all have actually seen a video of somebody, like, I don't know, turning their AK into full auto or turning their AR to full auto. But let's take the AR, for example. It's not super duper fucking hard. I hate to break that to you guys, but that's neither here nor there. All right, let's say you don't even want to do that shit, right? Let's say you want to stick with semi-auto. Most of the time in the military, you're using semi-auto. You're not using full auto. If you're clearing like a house or a small space or something, yeah, you're probably going to switch it to full auto. Why? Because you have to turn a corner, someone jumps out, 3, 4, 5 bullets is going to be much more effective at stopping them like that than one. But generally speaking, you're not always going to be using full auto. So that definitely isn't the biggest deal when people, question, oh, how can they be effective in a war scenario? And keep in mind, guys, I'm 21. I have not been in the military. I have a lot of family members who have been in the military. They have talked about wartime with me a lot, but that is not experience of being in it myself. I'm going based off what they've told me, what other people in the military have told me, what firearms instructors who are or not are, but were in the military told me. I'm going off a lot of different things that I was told that all seem to be lining up, so I'm going to, rely on them as fact. Now, this is just the shortened version of everything I said. Fuck you, you anti-Second Amendment piece of shit. Yes, I'm going to have a fucking weapon of war. Yes, I'm going to fucking have one. That's just how it works. Y'all can't... The argument of weapons of war shouldn't be for a civilian is exactly what the Second Amendment was for. They wanted the civilians to be unarmed or not have proper enough arms to protect themselves from said tyrannical government. So, hey, stop. So the fact that, some people even suggest that and argue, oh, that's not against the Constitution is baffling to me. That's just fucking, quit playing with me. I am just baffled, all right? Flabbergasted. Like, feel bamboozled here. You know what I'm saying? And bamboozled doesn't mean confused, obviously. I just feel tricked because these dumbasses claim to support the Second Amendment. They claim to. Like, they claim they support the Second Amendment, and then they're like, yeah, well, we don't need weapons of war. Bitch, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm going to keep my shit. You can give your shit. If you want to give your shit up, give it up to me. I'll take better care of it. See what I mean? That's just how I look at it. And no matter what, I get it. People are going to think what they want to think. However, you're not going to sit there and make this argument to me that we shouldn't have weapons of war when that's exactly what the Second Amendment was about. Having the proper weapons to protect yourself from a tyrannical government or a foreign or domestic. You see what I mean? But I think that's enough of this little rant here. All right. Y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. When you hit that bell, hit all. And because you have a weapon of war, or you're going to keep your weapons of war, go ahead and check out the podcast channel, Adam's channel, Centerfire Podcast, Gun Nut TV. Y'all know what the deal is. I'm going to tag both the channels in the description below. Y'all make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one. Peace.